Today, I'm very, very excited to have with us Tanya Target Camacho, and she is going to be talking to us about the winning speaking formula. And as especially in this time, a lot of us have gone virtual, and also you do speak to talk to your clients and your target audience, even if it's virtual or in person. So we're very happy to have you. And I am Michelle O'Connor, your business growth coach, and I really do hope that you are able to get some juicy stuff from today's talk. So go ahead, if you haven't done so as yet, grab your pen and your paper or your phone or your tablet, whatever device you're using, to record any tidbits that you can get from this conversation. Thank you so much, Tanya, for coming on. Guys, you have someone who's a real expert, okay? You got the stuff behind her and her experience. Thank you for being on with us today, Tanya.
Total pleasure. Thanks for having me.
All right, so we're talking about the purpose-driven entrepreneur, and one of the things that we're supporting them with is strategies on how they can move to success. So in your words, explain for us, how do you define success?
Well, I think the biggest mistake with identifying success is tying it to financial goals. And I know I've been guilty of that in the past. As an entrepreneur, we have roller coasters of income. Sometimes it's really good, and then sometimes it's like, where did it all go? And so I think that financial success is very different to what I would determine business success. And for me, having success in my business means that I'm doing what I love to do, and that I also have time to do other things outside my business that I love to do, and that I'm having the impact that I want to have. So, I love doing interviews. I love having time to do interviews and interview other people too. And I also have time to write and to speak. And, there's all the other sort of things that we don't really like to do, but a part of business that you have to do, or the sort of the admin side. And I got a team, but I still have time to work out with my husband every morning. I meditate every day for 70 minutes. I find that if I do the shorter one, it just doesn't work. And I have time for my daughters. And that to me is success.
I love that, Tanya. And I love it because for entrepreneurs who have been on this journey with us and listening to the interviews, this is one of the questions that I ask most of our experts. And I am realizing that the answers are similar. It's not about the money. It's not tied to the house or the car, but it's these things that you're able to do. Another person shared with me that it's if I get to take a nap today, if I get to walk my dog, for you, it's meditating. So yes, you're operating a business that is successful, but because the success is a feeling that you get from the inside, it's the other things, like spending time with your husband, your daughters, and being able to connect and give back and talk to persons and help them out. So, I really do hope that our entrepreneurs is getting it, that we know we're driving for financial reward, and we know that's a measure of the business success, but success overall is a combination of more than one thing. So thank you so much for that. So we want to jump into the winning speaking formula. We hear that and persons go, what is that? Can you explain for us?
Sure. Well, it's all about having that right combination of, as heart-centered entrepreneurs, we love to teach, right? So we love to teach, we love to help people have that transformation. But when we teach too much, we do one of two things. We can overwhelm our audience and they kind of hit a wall and they just switch off and they got to process. And so when we say, would you like to come and continue the journey and work with us? They're kind of like, I can't even process what I've just learned. I need some time. Or we teach so much that sometimes, I don't believe you can give the farm away, but what I do believe is that you can teach so much that people think you've given the farm away and they think they have the entire solution. And that's a disservice. And when I first started selling from stage, and the term just made my skin want to leave my body, true story. But when I first started selling from stage, I really had to get my head around the fact that if you want to help people have that transformation, you actually have to hold back a little bit in their best interests. Because if you try to just teach and change their lives in 25 minutes or 45 minutes and give the entire solution, you do them a disservice. You do them a disservice because they think, I have everything, I don't need any more help. And they go away and they find out they don't have the whole solution, but they don't realize that. and then you get the blame for it and their life doesn't change. So the winning speakers formula is all about teaching the right content at the right time. Yes, we do hold back, but what we hold back, there's a very important reason for it, and the reason must make sense in the mind of the audience so that you don't disconnect the audience. So it's all about teaching, having the right content in the right order, not overloading, while at the same time connecting and engaging. Because what a lot of speakers do is they do hold back, and you're like, they're holding back. And when I say speakers, I mean not just from stage, I mean on video, on Zooms, on webinars, on anything where, like you were talking about, Michelle, in that one-on-one conversation, they get this feeling like you're holding back to sell them stuff. That's not the winning formula. The winning formula is holding back where it makes sense, and where it makes sense to your audience, while you still have that connection, that engagement, and also sharing the right amount of vulnerability, which is really key.
I love that, Tanya. And as you were talking, I was just replaying in my mind a conversation I had with someone. I was just practicing with her, but what happened in that conversation is that she was so bent on selling me a program that I was like, oh my God, I'm absolutely overwhelmed already. I can't even listen to anymore. So I can totally relate, to what you're saying, in that there is a time when you go in, there's a time when you stop, and you have to know that. And sometimes we see persons who are doing exceptionally well at this, and we think it just happens by chance, but it's a support and it is a strategy. So you don't just wake up and you're able to do it. You really have to know, when do I continue? When do I stop? Because as you said, you want to give them enough so they can then go and meditate on it a bit and understand how it impacts their life. But if they leave with too much information, they probably start feeling overwhelmed and like, you know what? It's either they're in overwhelm and they don't come back, or they've gotten enough so they won't come back anyway. So that's amazing. So what advice do you give to persons who have a challenge speaking to audience?
Yes, well, I totally relate to you here as well. I'm an outgoing introvert. So I think most people, Michelle, in the online world, we just want to sit behind our computers
Yes.
and have customers magically appear, right? But this is what I know to be true, to steal one of my favorite quotes from Oprah. What I know to be true is that it isn't about me, and it isn't about you, and it's not about anyone watching this. This is about who out there is waiting for us to say what only we can say in our unique way. Because the truth is, there are, so many teachers, so many coaches doing what you do. But the one thing that defines us is our story. The one thing that is unique is our story. And when we share that story, that resonates with that one person, or 10, 100, however many, when you share that story, you touch and you impact and you transform lives, and you give other people permission to chase their dreams. And I often tell a story about when I was speaking from the front of the room. This was quite early on in my journey. And, I really kind of had to deal with some stuff to, get out the front of that room. I wasn't sort of Tony Robbins jumping on the spot, but I had to do a lot of meditation's been with me for quite some time. And I didn't know this. I found this out about 7 or 9 months later. A gentleman came up to me and he said, I just want you to know that you saved one of my clients' lives. And I said, what are you talking about? And he said, well, she came to hear you speak. She decided she was going to jump off the Story Bridge in Brisbane just after lunch, like scheduled. She had enough. She wanted to end her life. She'd left a note to her teenage son. She'd packed everything up, put all her affairs in order, but for some reason, she wanted to go to the event where you were speaking, and she heard you speak, and I just got goosebumps again. I've told the story so many times. I got goosebumps every time. She decided not to jump off the bridge. Something I shared in that, and it was to do with everything is in perpetual motion, a perpetual state of motion. And by definition, if we're not moving, we're going backwards, because everything about us is always moving. Even a chair vibrates and is moving. So we need to keep moving forward, or we move backwards. And that lady is alive today because I got over myself And I decided that it wasn't about me. Speaking for me and for people I work with is not an ego thing. It's because someone is waiting out there to hear what we have to say to save or to transform their life. So for those of you who are thinking, I'm really nervous about it, guys, I get it. But you have been given your talent for a reason, and it is not to keep to yourself. We have a responsibility to share it.
That is just awesome. And so many times that, just before earlier this morning, I was talking to another speaker, and one of the things we were talking about is persons who are waiting on us. You can connect with persons with only how you can, and they are waiting on you to do it. And as you hear, Tanya just shared her story. Can you imagine if she didn't get over herself? And that is what we need to do a lot of times, get over ourselves. Somebody is waiting on your voice. Somebody's waiting on your power. Somebody's waiting on you to just do it and be messy. And they're going to think, oh, she's out there and she's messy. I'm also messy too. I'm here hiding. So, really just jump out and make that
Oh,
impact for
Michelle, well, just to give you guys a little bit of hope, two things. When I first spoke from stage, I lost it in a room full of people. Like, I'm not talking about a little tear. I'm the keynote speaker, sold out events. And I'm a former journalist, so I'm used to high profile, but I was a single mom. I had enough rent in the bank for 6 weeks. Everything was riding on me selling from stage in this moment. And it was too much. And I heard that little negative voice in my head tell me I couldn't do it. And I lost it, quivering chin, sobbing, just totally, really embarrassing. And a friend, he wasn't a friend at the time, him and his wife were there. And years later, because I was now, I'm an international speaker, I've spoken on some really big stages, and every time I see him, he'll say to me, do you remember how much you sucked, Tanya? And I'm like, yeah, I really did, didn't I? So just being imperfect. And even on video, like if you guys are enjoying me on video, you would have hated me on video 7 years ago because I was a journalist. So I would sit there and I'd be, and I wouldn't smile, and so move imperfectly, move messily, and take people on your journey with you and give someone else permission to do the same.
Yes, move imperfectly. I love that. Move imperfectly, guys. Somebody else is sitting there trying to figure out, how am I going to do this? And you just hop on and say, you know what? I'm just doing this. I have a friend who is a travel blogger, and she said to me, I don't even, no, she posted on social media, I don't even know what I'm doing about this blogging thing, but I just know I love my country and I want to discover it and I want to share with the world. And that is what persons are waiting for, because so many persons are holding back because they think they need to wait on perfection before they go ahead and start. So you're getting some juicy stuff here. So I know you spoke about meditation, Tanya, and how that helps you to prepare. But what are some of the other things that an entrepreneur, just an individual, can do to speak confidently to their audience?
Yeah, it's a great question. The first, I'm looking over here because I'm, thinking about what do I do when I go on stage. I think I do one of two things religiously. The first thing I do, and it ties back into what I just shared. The first thing I do is I think about who is that one person. I don't go on stage or on video and I think, oh, who am I going to sell to today? Or who's going to buy my stuff? No, I don't think about that ever. What I do think about is, I wonder who's watching today. I wonder who is that one person that's waiting for me to change their lives. I wonder what they look like. And I connect to that one person. And I do that on video. I do it before I go on video. And video was a big kind of fear for me because I was a newspaper journalist. And so I would connect to that one person. And then I would also, so anyone who's a parent, I think will relate to this. I have a daughter turning 17 this year. One of my daughters is turning 17. And I don't want her to be scared of anything, right?
Yeah.
And I know that she's watching me. And I want to be the best mentor I can be. And I don't want her to be older and say, oh, Olivia, you should do that. And she'll go, but I'm really scared. And I'm like, well, you should just do it anyway. And she'll go, but Mum, you never got over your fear of going on video. Or, but
Kids
Mum,
are like that, right?
yeah,
Kids
you
know
never,
how to give it to
yeah.
you.
So I don't want her to have an excuse for anything. So I think about being a great role model, being fearless, and connecting to that one person. And I will, if I'm on a big, I'll look for that one. And as I'm speaking, I'll think about, and same with a Facebook Live, when a little name comes up, I wonder if you're that one person. That's the reason why I'm here today. And it takes the pressure off. And then you end up selling even when you're not trying to.
Yeah, that's I can completely relate to that. Persons would be, oh, Michelle, I want to be confident like you. I'm like, no, I'm not. I wish they would call somebody else to do this at church and not me. But every time I take that mic, I think about a piece of me being in the different persons who I'm looking at, and okay, what was my week like? Okay, I may have felt a little discouraged. Is that person feeling discouraged? I may have felt hopeless. I may have felt happy. I may feel hopeful, and you think about I think about pieces of me being in the audience, and that's how I look around and connect and find somebody. So, find what works for you, but just know that if it works for you, it works for you. You don't have to take just what everybody else does. But I think it's amazing that even if you're going on a Facebook Live, you get that name, and if it's only one person. I've done lives where only one person is present, and I'm like so excited, like, yes, somebody is here, and I just have a conversation with them. So know that you can find different ways to have your connection flowing as you go along. Is there a specific way that an entrepreneur should be speaking, or should be speaking to their audience? And what I mean by that is, take for me, I think in every country you have your hometown dialect, you have your local language. Should entrepreneurs always come on being professional, or can they just be laid back depending on the audience that they have? Do you have any suggestions around that?
That's a great question. And it's not one I've actually been asked before. I think that obviously cultural norms, you have to be aware of cultural norms. And it's really interesting because I'm Australian living in America, and I know they love my Australian accent. But what I found is that sometimes my vernacular, sometimes some of the words that I'll use won't connect. And so I worked really hard quite quickly to find out what like at the coalface means boots on the ground here in America. So when I talked about, oh yeah, if you've been at the coalface, they were like, what does that mean? And you might go, well, what's the impact there? Well, the impact there is that the understanding is lost. So I think it's really important to be aware of where you can be, of how people say things. And if you're going to speak in a different country, you might even say, hey, have you ever come across some language issues? I'm Australian, so we curse like a trooper, but you won't catch me cursing from stage. But I'm not changing my personality. So I think that, do you turn up? Are you professional? Well, what does your audience expect? And this is kind of a little unfair, but I'm going to say it anyway. There's a lot of guys who are 7-figure speakers who can turn up in a t-shirt and jeans, and everyone's like, oh, that's really cool, and aren't they cool, and I want to, you know what I mean? But when we do that, people think that we're lazy or we're unprofessional. Like, it sucks, right? Like, it really does. So I think that, it is important to dress for the part, because you never know who is in the room. And what I find with speaking and videos is you never know who's watching, and you'll get booked from how you present and how you come across. And a first impression is everything. It's a 10th of a second from a first impression. And that's even more important on video, because you've got, they could just go to something else. But whatever you do, whether you dress a little bit differently to how you usually are, be authentic. You don't want to compromise who you are to the point where you've changed who you are, because when you want to connect on video and you want to connect from stage, it's authenticity that connects you. So I'm a fast talker, but I've learned to slow down a little bit to connect more with different audiences. But am I as slow as other speakers? No, because it's not who I am, and that wouldn't be authentic, right? I talk fast, and that's part of my energy, so I'm going to stay that way. Do I dress like this normally? No, but if you look closely, you'll see I still have my little nose stud in my nose because that's authentically me. So I'm not, and I've got my little, my little wristband. So I'll have little sneaks of Tanya so that I'm still in alignment with who I am. Because if I'm not in alignment with who I am, I won't be in alignment with my message.
That's just awesome. And you know what I get from what you're saying is we get to be flexible. So you can flex. You know who you're serving. It sometimes is unfair, but because you know who you're serving, you know what they're looking for, you get to flex. And I think it's something that we experience even here in Jamaica for or in our music industry, where our entertainers, they may sing songs that do extremely well here in Jamaica, but it can't go anywhere else because the language isn't understood. And sometimes when you do it in the language that is understood, a lot of times it's for North American culture, it almost seems as if you're selling out, but you're not, because you know where your audience is. You get to connect with your audience the way that you know you can be understood. And then, you can take it from there. Still have your authenticity, still talk about you, still have the little things that it's just you, and persons will know you for it. They say, oh, Tanya, yeah, she's with the nose ring. Oh, she's cute. Oh, yeah, she speaks well. She connects with the audience. So totally, totally get it. And you go ahead.
I was going to say, I'll often do both because, I have a really beautiful community in Australia, and I want to honor that. Just because I'm living in America doesn't mean I've forgotten. So if I was, say, boots on the ground example, I would actually use both terms. I'd say, so if you're at the coal face, or, for my American friends, boots on the ground, like I'll often do both so that my Australian friends don't think I've forgotten about them, and my American audience understand what I'm talking about. So that can be a really nice compromise too.
And then you get to connect with persons even more because they know that you're real. I have somebody from Australia in a coaching program that I was a part of, and we would always want him to talk. We're like, Peter, can you say something? Because we just love his accent. If he does speak fast at times, and we're like, we don't understand a word you just said, but your accent is really lovely. So it's awesome. You started answering this next question about, I was going to ask about if there's a test that we can do to know whether or not we're connecting with our audience. Is there anything that an entrepreneur can look out for when they're communicating, whether it's virtual or in person, to know whether or not that connection is there?
Yeah, it's another great question. Well, there's a couple of things you can do. If you are in front of people and you're on Zoom, you read their body language. So one of the missing pieces that I had when I first started learning how to sell from stage was I learned how to sell from stage, and I learned the formula and all that kind of thing. And my conversions were really good, but I felt something was missing. So I went and got psychosomatic training. So I actually got training on how to read body language. And that also included my body language from stage. Like, how should I stand? What's going to amplify my message? What's going to stop them sometimes getting that, oh, it just doesn't kind of feel right, gut feeling you hear sometimes people say? Body language, right? That's body language. So body language is a really great one. Now, what about on video? And when you understand about body language, you'll be able to tell when people are interested, when they're leaning in, if you're having sales conversations, when you should pause and let them have a little room. So body language is a really good investment for people who are looking to, sell from stage, and even like video. Like, this is not going to go away. I love this, right? But if you're in video and you're doing a Facebook Live or a YouTube Live, and I want to touch on when you were talking about one person watching, don't be bothered about that. Like, all these algorithms that we have, and because of social media, if you don't have 50,000 followers, no one should watch. I mean, that's just wrong. If you've got one person watching, if you've got a room with one person who's interested in what you're doing, would it be worth going and talking to them? Absolutely.
Yeah.
It's no different on a Facebook Live. And the truth is that most people watch the replay. And if you haven't been very active on your page or in your group, it's going to take a lot of Facebook Lives before the algorithms start to show your lives, because people don't even see them. So don't take it personally, guys. Now, in terms of connecting, an obvious one would be if you're live and you're getting comments and responses, or on the replay, that's a great sign of engagement. But let's say none of that happens. That still doesn't mean that you're not landing. And the way to do this, I would recommend everybody do, and I still do this to this day, is I watch my videos back without the sound turned on. Because you will pick up on the subtleties of body language, right? You'll start to see things that you do that you might want to fix. You'll watch things and go, oh, what was I doing there? And you'll start to get that uncomfortable feeling. So the first thing to do would be to watch it without the sound. And then if you want to go ninja, and I don't always do this because I actually hate my voice. I won't watch the video. I'll just listen to it, and I'll listen to check my energy, and I'll listen to check congruency of tone and message. So important, because our tonality and our voice and our body language are deal breakers. So that's what I'd recommend you do. And if you're speaking from the front of the room, get someone to video you. No one likes watching themselves back, guys. It's okay. Right? And even actors, Hollywood actors, hate watching themselves. So we're always going to hate it. Just accept it. But it's our greatest teacher.
Wow, I love those two nuggets. Amazing. I'm gonna try. I'm gonna try that. I also don't like listening to my own voice, but I think it's really good when you think about. I had to do an exercise the other day where we had to share something good in a made up language, like just make up a language, but the essence of what you were saying. And it was so funny that nothing I was saying made sense, but because I felt it on the inside, I was smiling, I was giving expressions, I was doing all of this. So it's a good thing for us to try, and then we can now say, okay, what was I doing? I didn't sound connected. What, I was distracted. And guys, the other thing that I'm getting from talking to Tanya is, whatever it is that is passionate to you, we're talking about the purpose-driven entrepreneur and moving towards your passion, you get to invest in it some more. And Tanya shared about doing an investment in reading body language. Great persons don't just appear out of the sky. It takes time, it takes effort, it takes energy. And it does take money, because I'm sure the training wasn't free, but you get to see the reward. And then you have someone like Tanya who is here sharing with us these great nuggets that you can take. So if you got nothing else, watch your videos on silent, or play it and turn away. Don't look at yourself, so you can see what your audience is feeling and seeing and hearing as well. So that's a tip that you can implement. Thank you so much for that, Tanya. So I'm asking all my experts this question. As an entrepreneur, or as entrepreneurs, what is the most important question that one should ask themselves?
The most important question you should ask yourself, for me, it's, am I on path? Yeah, it's I don't know if you've read the Passions Test book. I love that book. But one of my passions is to be on path. So it's very important to me and there's so many layers in that, because it means that I'm doing what I love. It means that I'm not doing it. It's tied into, if money was no object, would you be doing what you're doing? And I would be a heck yes. Like, I love finding people's stories. I love sharing people's stories. I could do this all day, every day. So to be on path, and it is very easy, and we've all been guilty of this. And I don't think it's a guilty because it's apportioning blame, but there are times when we're not as on path as we would like to be. And it's a really good reminder to ask yourself, am I on path? And sometimes when a new opportunity comes your way, ask yourself, is this on path? Because the power is actually in the no, which is another great book, right? But the power is in the no. The more you say no, the more you can say yes to the right opportunities that are on path. If you say yes to everything because you struggle to say no, then you can miss the right opportunities that are on path. And I had to learn that, because I was a people pleaser, and I was just like, yes, 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 yes. And I was exhausted and run ragged. And now I'm like, is it on path? Like when you reached out to me, I'm like, I really like Michelle. This feels good. This is on par. Yes.
Awesome. I will add nothing to that, Tanya. And guys, ask yourself, am I on path? And I love, so those two books, the Passion Chess book and The Power is in the No. I'm taking that's the name of
Yeah,
the
I think it's the power of no, it's a black and white. It's a black and white book. I'll find it for you, Michelle, just to
yes,
confirm it, and maybe you can put it in the description for people so they can
yes, I
read
definitely
it if they
will.
want to.
So see if it connects and ask yourself. Sometimes I know it's hard to say no. You're like, oh, but I can do this, or I that looks like it's not going to work out, and I can jump in. But you get to say no so you can say yes. So thank you so much for being here, Tanya, and thank you for all these juicy nuggets. It's been an actual awesome experience having this conversation with you. And I know that those who are viewing would be helped, will be helped, and will get some great nuggets to help them going forward. Thank you so much.
Total pleasure. And for anyone who is looking for anyone who is looking to get booked, the words won't come out. That'll be interesting watching that back with the sound off. Looking to get booked to speak on stage, I've got a free gift for you guys too, that Michelle has all the details of. But you actually get the template for the media one sheet that I have used and my students and my private clients have used to get booked to speak all around the world, and it's free. No catches. So that's
Sure.
a gift.
So Tanya, and you know, as I'm about to say, I'm glad you shared that just before we go, for you to just share a little bit about what you do. And as Tanya started to share, we'll be dropping all the links right below this video, so you can go ahead and check out her free content, check out her website. I am actually moved by the strategy and how it is that she moves you through being in being present in front of your audience. So Tanya, go ahead and talk to us a little bit about what you do.
Oh, well, thank you. I'm much more interested in talking about stories and tips. As you can, it's like, oh, what are your links, Tanya? And I'm like, oh, I'm not sure. Well, I'm all about stories. So I'm all about helping you find the best pieces of your story and the best pieces of your content that are unique to you so that you can truly stand out as being unique and impact from stage, on video, online, podcasts, and TV. So I teach my students how to shine on stage, on video, on TV by unleashing the power of their story, but actually creating an extra six-figure revenue stream through speaking.
You need nothing more than that. So go ahead and click the link and you can connect with Tanya. Thank you so much, guys, for tuning in. And remember, go ahead and save this, and you'll definitely be helped throughout your speaking career. And listen out for our next video with another expert. Thank you again, Tanya.
My pleasure. Thanks for having me.